Hello there, friends. I'm Glenn Ward, and I'm here to talk to you today about this little book right here. It's not that little, but look, it's Norton Star Atlas. And this one is the 15th edition from 1966. And let me tell you something, this book right here is so handy. And the crazy thing is, I've been out astronomy for so long, for decades, and yet I didn't own this book until about a month ago. A doctor here in town passed away, and his family sold his books to the local used bookstore. And that's where I picked this one up, and I gave $10 for it. And I must say, I can't believe I've done without it for all these years. This little book is so handy. It's just a complete little reference for everything that a sort of a backyard astronomer might need to know, all stuffed into one nice book. And even though it's the 1966 model, it's still pretty accurate. I mean, we don't see a lot of out-of-date information. I think that's because most of what's in here is very basic, and also by 1966, most of what amateur astronomers, at least visual and basic ones, are interested in, most of that stuff was pretty well understood. Look at this. We have a nice moon map. I've used this moon map at the telescope, and I found it to be very handy. Let me open it up there for you. See there? Very nice lunar map. The craters are listed in alphabetical order with numbers, and then they're numbered on the map. Also includes the mountain ranges and the valleys. Of course, the seas are labeled. It's a wonderful book. I thought it had another interesting feature back here, and that's a galactic chart. So it shows all the little places, the coal sack and so forth, all the places where the Milky Way is dark. You'll be very lucky to see this much detail in the Milky Way. But I think if you went to some of the mountains here in the east, up at Spruce Knob maybe, you might be able to see those on a really good night. Now the basic charts that the book comes with, and let's be honest, the little slipcover here isn't much, but the basic charts that it comes with I think are pretty well known to people out there. But they just go by hour. This is about 12 hours. So we have Corvus, we have Coma, Ursa Major a little bit there, Virgo. And it's great. They label so many of the deep sky objects that are easy to see. Like there's the Virgo cluster, the galaxies, and we see a lot of messy objects in that area. And as you can see too, they do chart out the Milky Way really well on these as well. Like I say, it'd take a miracle to be able to see that much detail in the Milky Way these days. But a man can dream, right? But one of the nicest things about this book, I really want to point this out. For each chart it gives 2 pages showing double stars, variable stars, nebula, and clusters. Of course, the galaxies go in there as well. But this double stars page is just so handy. And I think the reason it's so handy is, most of what's on this double stars page you can see from in town. So ever since I got this, I've been checking out some of these double stars. Like, I never even knew that Rigel was a double star. That doesn't mean that I saw it when I looked. I didn't, but I probably will someday. But all these double stars, every one of these objects could be observed from in town. As long as you're not like in downtown Manhattan, maybe. So that's one of the most wonderful things about this book. I think this book is worth getting just for the list of double stars. And of course, they're all depicted right there on the chart. This chart works really well at night when you're out there with a flashlight. The different magnitudes, they don't just portray them with different size stars, but they have different symbols. Like, the star with the triangle in the middle is a 3rd magnitude star, and the one with the cross hairs on it is a 4th magnitude star. So I think that's a really nice thing that they did. Again, we have this section in the beginning that if you read it, it would give you a very, very good basic education in astronomy. There might be a few things here that aren't really up to date, but honestly, I saw very little. They mostly just didn't get into things that they didn't know. And so that's why this is still really handy. I could go on and on about what a wonderful book it is, but I think you get the picture. I think this is another one of those books that probably everyone ought to have. I don't know what the newer editions are like, but this edition here, this is sub-edition. Apparently it sold a lot of copies. One's maybe 15th, 16th edition there in the 60s. But so you often see this on eBay. It's not too expensive. I feel like it's a book everybody who's at least individual observing ought to have, because I found it to be so handy this past month as I've been out there under the stars with it. So I'd really recommend an older version, a 1960s version of Norton Star Atlas. It's a wonderful book.